Hey guys, it's Zoe again here. I'm speaking to you from Kona, Hawaii on a beautiful day, and I am inside. Yes. Anyways, it has been a couple weeks since I put up the first video of getting into ham radio, and I've done a little bit more studying since then. I have to admit I've been working on other projects, so I haven't spent as much time as I should, but I thought I would touch base as to what I've kind of learned or been focusing on thus far. Before moving ahead onto stations and such like that. But I've pretty much been focusing on bands and frequencies and trying to distinguish how they actually work, how they tie together in the amateur radio world. I'd really like to get a strong understanding first of how everything functions and how everything intertwines before I start doing exam questions and prepping for the actual exam. Because I also don't want to just take the exam and then not know what to do with my station. So, but yeah, so basically, and please, I am extremely new to this, so part of why I'm sharing this is if you can help me or correct me, please fire away. I might be wrong in some of this, but I figured if there's somebody else like me that's trying to learn this, you know, one day look back on it and it will be helpful to somebody or even myself. So anyways, so I've been spending some time looking at the different bands and amateur radio and different kind of spectrums of the radio world, and kind of making decisions on where do I start first with bands and with frequencies, and where do you go once you can operate a radio. So yeah, I mean, to begin at the basics, there's kind of like 5 different I suppose like spectrums or categories within the radio spectrum, of which hams or amateur radio operators are kind of focusing on. You have the kind of main one, which is high frequency, HF or high frequency, which runs from 3 megahertz to 30 megahertz. And then VHF, that's probably one of the most popular ones. I know when I've worked with boats abroad that they're usually using VHF radios, which is very high frequency. And then we've also got ultra high frequency, and I believe then it's into microwaves, and microwave starts at about 1 gigahertz. So it's an increasing increments through VHF and UHF from high frequency. But from what I understand as a technician licensed operator, most people are operating on high frequency, because there are 9 bands within that segment, I suppose. So there's like 9 different areas that you as a ham can go and operate, from what I understand, also depending on your license. So as a tech licensed person, you can operate on a certain amount of frequencies. I think it's 3 megahertz to 30, or maybe 28.9 or something. And then as you go up into general and then into amateur extra, you get more and more privileges, meaning more and more frequencies that you can operate on. For me, I've taken an interest in the 10 meter band because it seems like I can actually operate internationally, or DXing, I suppose as it's called, so that I can contact really remote stations abroad with just a technician's license. I also understand within that range, there is an area I can operate CW or Morse code, which is nice. I know it's not Morse code only or CW only. And from what I understand, if you're kind of tapping in, I think around 28.4 on the calling frequency, you kind of quickly want to move off if you're on Morse code. But that one, I understand you can probably do a little bit of sideband radio talk or communications, as well as CW. So that's what I'm kind of focusing on at the moment, is that particular band and how I can, at what point you operate it, because that's the other thing I'm learning is that these bands don't operate all day long. They depend on atmospheric conditions, solar flares and such like that. So they tend to run during the day. Well, the 10 meter band will run during the day, for example. So, living in Hawaii as well, it's interesting to see, well, if I'm on at this time, then I actually have to time it if I want to speak to other people internationally or on the mainland and such. So yeah, I've been focusing on that a bit, which has been quite interesting. I also understand the 6 meter band is quite a legendary band, if you will. But yeah, I haven't gotten deep into that one yet, so I'm just kind of focusing on this one. A couple of other things I've been reading up on, which has been kind of interesting, is that I hear in ham radio there's a tradition of what's called Elmers or mentors. So apparently people who are pretty established in ham radio, it's quite tradition to train or mentor other people that are up and coming in ham radio. So if any of you guys are out there watching this and fancy being an Elmer for me, please let me know. I would love that. I'm kind of trying to self-teach myself this, but it's going okay. But I really appreciate everybody's feedback so far on my little videos. It's been very helpful of what to go, where directions are, and such like that. Especially on the Facebook groups too. When you're looking at transceivers and such like that, where to buy, where to start, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a great community. I'm finding out so far. People very responsive and very interested, and comparing antenna and all kinds of things like that. So I'm really liking it that much so far. But yeah, that's kind of my update as to getting into bands and how to actually start communications in the ham radio world. I know it's minute in the field of this, but otherwise my video would be 20 minutes long. I did think as well I would sign out with a fun Morse code fact after every video. So for this video, if any of you know the band Oasis, I'm sure a lot of you do, they have a song that's called Do You Know What I Mean? Or Do You Know What I Mean? And it actually begins with Morse code, and everybody kind of said to the band, well, what does it mean? What does it mean? And they intended for it to mean something, the story goes, but then they said it meant bugger all. Literally, it meant bugger all. But it sounds like the person who actually wrote it was a bit merry, let's say. So the easy answer became it meant bugger all, as in both figuratively and literally. So that is, next time you're listening to Oasis, where that came from. So there is Morse code in there. Anyways, until next time, thanks for checking in. Thanks for your advice and your help. And I will see you later. Bye.